Hey friends, thanks for joining me, whether you're here live on Friday or watching on the replay. Unless you've been living under a rock for the last 6 months, you must have noticed that AI, specifically generative AI, the big dog being ChatGPT, has burst on the scene in a big way. And if you are marketing your business in the online space and you are a content creator as part or all of your marketing strategy, then you've either already jumped on the bandwagon or are considering doing so. Now, there are some of you that are predicting the end of the world being ushered in by AI, but we're not going to go down that rabbit hole because, as a matter of fact, this notion that the robots, artificial intelligence is going to take over the world and going to put us humans out of business has been part of the entertainment world for years. If you remember all the way back to Blade Runner, which was quite a while ago, we were introduced to AI then, and there have been a number of movies since that have featured this concept. Now, I happen to enjoy this genre quite a bit. I really, really enjoy futuristic sci fi. However, it does beg the question, are we putting ourselves out of business, so to speak, by embracing this kind of technology? Well, I'm not a doomsday prophet. I am not a conspiracy theorist. In fact, I'm really not anxious about the future at all, but there certainly are ethical questions and legitimate questions about where does AI fit for each of us as business owners. With all of the coaching and consulting and mentorship clients that I work with personally, one of the primary things we do at the beginning of our engagement is to determine what their business and personal values are. Now, for many people, originality, creativity, authenticity are words that come up when we're doing their values exercise. So some of these people feel that getting involved with generative AI isn't on brand for them. And I respect that. But I don't think that we need to go from one extreme to the other. I don't think personally that we need to take a hard stance in opposition to these tools and technologies with the belief that if I take advantage of generative AI like ChatGPT or some of the others I'm going to mention in this live stream, does it mean we're selling our own creativity out? Well, this is a really interesting question because certainly these tools are only going to get better. And many of them are already demonstrating evidence of creativity. Now, we are clearly at the beginning of generative AI technology with respect to content creation. But the proliferation of these apps, these platforms, these companies is only going to increase like it does with any other new technology. There are always the first ones out of the gate, and there will always be the early adopters who, the minute something new and shiny comes out, they are all over it. They like being the first kids on their block to embrace something new. And I think that's awesome. But I also know that in the world that we live in, and particularly in the world of online marketing, the number of new tools, new tactics, new techniques, new strategies is going to continue to increase. And at a rate that is going to be dizzying if you don't already feel that we're there now. For this reason, what I really want to emphasize today, and what I talked about more extensively on this week's episode of the Driven Woman Entrepreneur podcast, about is ChatGPT a game changer or just another shiny object? Here's the thing. I love trying new things. I really do. I love hearing about new things. I love being able to learn new things, and I love being able to share new things. It's not so much about being the cool kid or being the first kid on my block to know about something. I've never been a person who has a big piece of my identity around being first at anything. But that being said, I do love shiny stuff. I'm very attracted to things that are new simply because my ADHD brain loves novelty, always has and always will. So if you, like me, whether you have ADHD or for any other reason, are very attracted to the new, to the novel, to the shiny, I really want to encourage you to make a decision on behalf of yourself and your business that you will create some sort of criteria for vetting new things, whether it's generative AI or whatever the next groovy, trendy, shiny thing to come down the pipeline is, because it's coming and it's coming for you and your brain. I don't have to tell you how addictive all of these technologies are. And if you're like me, learning new stuff is your crack. So, running a business, when you, as the business owner, are literally wanting to chase after every single new shiny object, you're going to have a really hard time reaching your goals because your attention is going to be pulled in a bunch of different directions. I had to learn this the hard way, and I know I'm never going to change. I know this is how my brain is. And I know that I have to put guardrails in place to protect myself and my team from being yanked in one direction after the next. It's really embarrassing when you have people who work for you or with you and you say, hey, we're doing this thing now. They're like, wait a minute, didn't you just say we were doing this other new thing? We haven't even learned that thing yet. Do you want us to drop that and learn this or what? And that happened enough times that I realized you're creating unnecessary chaos in your business, in your life, and for your team members. Now, one of them has ADHD traits like me. So she's always down for something new. That's not necessarily a good thing, because if I'm always down for something new and she's always down for something new, she's never going to be the one to say, yo, boss, are you sure you want to do this? I have another team member who's very good at giving me that feedback and reminding me that in order to succeed in business, we have to have specific goals. We have to have priorities. We have to have a plan, even if it's a kind of a loose one, and we have to stick to that plan. Now, where does embracing new things fit? I create categories. I like being aware of new things. So I subscribe to certain newsletters and I follow certain people online because I know they love new things as much as I do. So they're always looking for them. That's their job. They may be marketing experts. So, or they may be tech experts, or they may be online business experts, but that's what they do all the time. They're constantly scanning the horizon for new things and sharing them with the people who follow them. So I connect with these people so that they can inform me. Now, because I also am prone to forget things, no matter how exciting I find them, I will make a bookmark. I'll be like, oh, that sounds cool. Bookmark. Ooh, that's shiny. That's cool. Bookmark. I save my bookmarks. Once a week, if it's not a super busy week, every 2 weeks, if I'm in a sprint, I go back and look through my bookmarks. And if you're like me, it probably won't surprise you that at least 50% of them I don't even recognize. I don't remember what they are. And I don't even go back and look. I literally delete the bookmark. That's a great way for me to indulge my tendency to lunge at the shiny things, but I curb my enthusiasm. I slow my roll. I bookmark them for later. And then on a regular basis, hey, Diane, then on a regular basis, I go and review the list because I gave myself permission to lunge at the shiny, but not to indulge immediately. Just inserting the pause, I call it hitting the pause button, just requiring myself to wait and then having a block of time, not a lot of time, a short time block on my calendar once a week or every other week where I revisit all those bookmarks. Just like if you are prone to overindulging on Amazon and you're constantly putting things in your cart, a great way to curb your enthusiasm for impulse shopping online is go ahead, put it in your cart. Just don't buy it. Put it in your cart. Don't buy it. Come back later and take a look at it. If you still like it, leave it there, but still don't buy it. By the second time you come back, you might notice that you're not quite as enthusiastic about that thing. This is true for me too. So if you haven't already jumped on the ChatGPT or generative AI bandwagon, I want you to think about why that is. Are you afraid of technology? Are you afraid of artificial intelligence? Do you think that it's a slippery slope to humankind losing their position at the top of the food chain? Maybe. But if that's going to happen, there's probably not going to make any difference whether you adopt the technology or not. If you don't like this type of technology philosophically, because you believe that it undermines human creativity, I respect that. I consider myself a creative person, but I also am a person who struggles with productivity, who struggles with getting all of my goals done. I'm sorry, my dog is whining. I can't do anything about it. Who struggles with keeping my focus and my priorities where they belong. So, given that that's the case, I can't afford to hop on every bandwagon that comes through town and have a business. I will be wildly indulging my impulsivity and my desire to learn new things, but it won't necessarily help my business. Now, what I'm doing with generative AI, I think I do have to open the door because the whining is going to distract me. 1 second, please. Go. Bye. Distractions. There you go. What I've decided to do is find the sweet spot between wanting to create original creative content. I use content marketing as part of the marketing strategy for my own business. I create content every week. I create an episode of the Driven Woman Entrepreneur podcast every single week. And from that original content, which is all me, whether I'm doing a solo episode, I'm doing a client success story with someone I am worked with or have worked with, or whether I'm interviewing an invited guest, it's original creative content with my personality, my thoughts, my expertise, my perspective, which may be shared with that of the person I'm interviewing, unless it's a solo episode. Now, where generative AI fits in my business, and I think of it as kind of a middle way, I'm not diving in head first and expecting ChatGPT or other generative AI to create my content for me. I have no interest in doing so. I will not do so. I don't judge anybody who does that. But one of the reasons why people decide to follow me and hire me is because of the way I think, because of my perspective, because of my expertise, my wisdom, and my original thinking. I don't want to outsource that to ChatGPT or anyone else. My original thinking, my creativity, my perspective, my analogies, my metaphors, my humor, all of that is a huge part of my brand and what attracts people to me. I will never ask AI or even a copywriter to do that for me. I don't judge anybody who does that. And I'm absolutely certain that there are any number of copywriters who could actually write content for my business as good or better than my own. But I don't want to outsource that. I enjoy creating content. I enjoy it as a form of creative self-expression. Now, does that mean I want to do 100% of the work and not outsource any part of it? No, absolutely not. I enjoy doing live streams like this, and I enjoy creating content via the podcast. I'm a verbal processor, I'm a speaker, and that's how I enjoy communicating value. But writing, even though I'm good at it, I don't enjoy it as much. So, how I have integrated ChatGPT and generative AI into my business and content creation is that I'm using a app called Cast Magic, where I can upload the recording of my podcast. And Cast Magic uses its AI to then generate an email broadcast, a LinkedIn newsletter, captions for social media on multiple different platforms, a description for YouTube, and pretty much anything else I ask it to do. So here's where it works for me, and it might work for you. It's not all or nothing when it comes to generative AI. And I'm going to use the term generative AI, which is really the category, and ChatGPT, which is a specific brand, a specific type of generative AI. But it's the one people know. It's the one people are most familiar with. And so people think ChatGPT is generative AI. No, there's lots of companies coming down the pipeline, including Cast Magic. I have also used Capsho. Capsho, Capsho, and I love the founders of this company a lot. They created this AI that does basically the same thing as Cast Magic. You upload the episode, and it gives you multiple different options for the AI looks at the episode and sees, oh, you could go this direction, this direction, this direction, this direction. So you could focus the title of the episode in this way, this way, this way, this way. So you decide, which way do I want to go? It's your content. I already recorded the episode. From my original content, the Capsho AI or the Cast Magic AI, two different companies that do similar things, then takes that original content and reflects it back as a blog post, a LinkedIn article, a social media post, an email, or any number of other things. Now, this works great for me because I create one piece of content and then use the AI to repurpose it in multiple different ways. Now, is it magic? Is it perfect? Do I recommend it with no reservations? No. I recommend it with reservations because If you followed me for any length of time at all, you know one of the things I say again and again and again is there is no magic pill. I have a real beef with a lot of the people who are marketing online to content creators, coaches, consultants, small business owners, independent professionals, entrepreneurs of all types and sizes. They market the idea that what we do is easy, fast, fun. You can achieve overnight success and make millions of dollars in your sleep. And none of that is true. Also, there is no single solution that is guaranteed to work for everybody. As a matter of fact, there's no single solution that's guaranteed to work for anybody. So we need to know who we are, know how we are, know our strengths, know our limitations, know our bandwidth, and know what will work for us on a consistent basis. I would never say, oh, you have to have a podcast. Everybody has to have a podcast. Simply not true. Everybody doesn't have to have a blog. Everybody doesn't need to do video. Everybody doesn't need to be on TikTok. Everybody doesn't need to do anything. And you most certainly don't need to adopt generative AI either. I'm talking about my experience, what I've shared with my clients who are interested in taking one piece of content, in the case of Cast Magic or Cap Show, one piece of content that they create each week that happens to be a podcast, because those platforms work for repurposing podcasts. There are many other platforms. Now, we also put a little ChatGPT in there, so let me explain how. Sorry. You upload the episode of the podcast. The AI then turns around and says, bop, 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 bop. How do you like this title? This one, this one, this one, this one, this one. What I have found the limitation of ChatGPT, Cast Magic, and Cap Show, those are the ones I'm familiar with. The titles are a real weakness, a real limitation. I think they tend to really focus on the clickbaity titles that may be recommended to us because they're popular, because these terms are used a lot, but that's the reason why I don't want to use them. What I've noticed is with each of these platforms, and again, this is where we are right now in the summer of 2023, and maybe 3 months from now, because technology is ever advancing and evolving, maybe the comments I'm making right now, 3 months from now, will be completely irrelevant. That's how fast things are moving. But as of right now, the day of this recording, summer of 2023, August, first Friday of August, I have noticed that the titles and headlines, so we're talking the title of the blog post, the headline for the newsletter, the subject line for the email, all tend to be very clickbaity with words that are really overused online. Things like unpacking, unlocking, uncovering. That's just too generic for me to want to use. Now, I understand that AI is recommending titles, headlines, subject lines that that are found in a million places online. But my goal is not to go from 100% original content to 0% original content. I mean, think about it. If your stuff reads like everybody else's, why would anyone pay attention? So I'm finding that while these tools are helpful to me and I do use them and I continue to use them, I write my own headlines. I write my own subject lines. Where it does help me is to take the work I've already done and repackage it in a way that is suited to these different platforms. Obviously, if I'm going to go from a podcast episode to a blog post, there's a certain format for a blog post. I'm not just going to publish the transcript of the episode as a blog post. Nobody would read it. I wouldn't read it for that matter. There's a certain style. There's a style to a blog post. There's a style to a LinkedIn newsletter. There's a style to a well-written email broadcast. There's a style to a caption for each social media platform, and they're not all the same. So I think it is helpful, even if you end up doing extensive editing, which does take away from the efficiency of using this technology. But I think it's like getting the sweet spot, at least for me. I'm not going to just hand over my content creation to artificial intelligence. I like my originality. I like my imagination, and the people who follow me like it too. But do I want to every week record an episode of the podcast and edit it and publish it and write from scratch a completely original blog post and from scratch a completely original LinkedIn newsletter and from scratch a completely original email broadcast and from scratch completely original captions for the different social media platforms I'm on? I do not. So in the podcast episode this week, I used the analogy of hamburger helper. I think at this point in time, generative AI, like ChatGPT, like Capsho, like Cast Magic, the ones I'm using, are like hamburger helper. My original content is the beef. Now, I understand hamburger helper. I haven't used it for years. I did use it on a regular basis when I was raising my kids back in the day. Now they're all grown and they're much better cooks than I am. But it was an efficient way to put together a meal when you're a working mom with 3 active kids. So I have no regrets about it, no shame. But I'm the beef. You're the beef. Your thoughts, your perspective, your expertise, your wisdom is the beef. Or if you're vegan, you could say the tofu. The generative AI is the hamburger helper. It's the noodles, it's the spice, it expands on what you've done. It extends what you've done. It cannot replace what you've done. It cannot replace you. That's how I use it. Now, certainly there are people who are using ChatGPT and other platforms like it to generate their entire content. I don't know where this is heading. I think if people are using content marketing as one of their strategies for marketing their business, it's only going to be a matter of time before they're getting themselves in trouble if they're using generative AI to create all of their content, which you can do. You can do that. It is an option. I'm sure there are people doing it. Probably nobody watching this live stream, but there are people doing it. They're like, I know that content marketing is a good way to, market your business. It's a way. It certainly isn't the way, and it might not be the way for you. And I would really question if you believe you need to use content marketing to market your business, but you have no desire to create any original content, and you want to have ChatGPT or another AI do it for you. Consider the fact that ChatGPT is free, at least for now, and maybe millions of people are using it, and probably a few 100,000 of them are content creators. So think about it. Whatever niche you're in, somebody is doing the same thing with it that you are. So that means search engine, search intention. If your stuff is exactly the same as other people's stuff because their outsourcing the whole job of creating that content to AI, I think we're shooting ourselves in the foot if we do this. Can you use AI like Hamburger Helper? That's what I'm doing, and I'm going to continue to do it until I come up with a better way, if I do. I like that it adds to what I've already done, but it's not a set it and forget it. It's not like I can just outsource it to the AI and just look away and move on. I want to be very clear about this. I still have to review and in many cases revise every single piece of content that the AI creates for me. So there's no magic pill. You're still going to do the work, but I think it increases efficiency. At least it has for me. So if you're a podcaster and you want to repurpose the podcast episodes that you release to share in a blog post, to share on social media, to share with your email subscribers, to share wherever you choose to, I like it. Now, ChatGPT is free. Capsho and Cast Magic are paid. But for me, it's worth it. One other platform I want to mention before we sign off for today is Fathom. Fathom is not generative AI. Well, it is, but in a different way. Fathom is a currently free app that piggybacks on Zoom and takes notes for you. Now, all of my coaching and consulting calls are recorded on Zoom. And in the past, I would share the audio recordings and the video recordings with my clients after the fact, because they often would like to go back and re-listen or rewatch some of our conversation. Then I started creating transcripts from those calls so that they could have it in 3 different formats. They could listen to it, they could watch it, or they could read it. What Fathom does is frees me from all of that. Fathom is recording a transcript and a summary of every single Zoom meeting that I have it enabled for. So as soon as my coaching call is done, I can either then click a button and send it to my client, or in some cases, they have already signed up for their own Fathom account and they automatically receive it. So they get a transcript of the entire call with links that they can click on and go directly to the video. They also get a summary. I also use that summary in my client notes. So from one call to the next, I can briefly review the summary and remember exactly what we talked about, exactly where we left off, and where I start the next call. That's been a major time saver for me. It's also saving paper because now I don't have to write any notes anymore. So I would strongly recommend, even if you're not a content creator, even if you don't know, well, if you're not a content creator, you probably wouldn't still be watching this, but I definitely recommend Fathom, because if you need to record meetings on Zoom and you have been taking notes so that you can follow up on things, Fathom will take the notes for you. There's also another app that does that some of my colleagues and clients use, which is the otter.ai. It also has a note-taking function. I think we're going to see a lot more of these coming up. And, everybody wants to be more efficient. We all have our time and attention being pulled in different directions. So when I can give my full attention to my client and I don't have to be thinking about taking notes for follow-up, that allows me to be more present. Being more present is a gift to yourself and the person that you're talking with on Zoom. So I love Fathom. So recap, ChatGPT is free. You can use it the way I use it. You can use it for a lot of other things. What I will do is if I run my podcast episode through Cast Magic, if there's anything that it doesn't automatically create for me, they have a feature called Magic Chat, I think, or Magic Cast. You click on that and you can enter prompts and say, I give me 5 quotes from this episode that highlight my expertise in X. And the more you use these prompts, the more you get to know the AI and the more the AI gets to know you. So if you haven't jumped on the bandwagon yet, I don't actually recommend you jump on the bandwagon. I say, like, get on the bus. Sit on the bus. Take it for a few stops. Get to know it and experiment a little. You don't need to go whole hog, but you also don't need to sit on the sidelines, because I do think this technology is here to stay, and you can find some way that can help you in your business to create more content, to save time, to save energy, to save effort, to make your business more productive without additional effort on your part. But you do need to keep a little bit of extra time for the reviewing and revising, because it's not perfect. And we have to revise our own stuff from time to time too. So I hope you have fun with it. I hope that it's worthwhile for you. And I have a really cool ChatGPT infographic PDF that basically is like, it's a cheat sheet. So if you're just getting started and you'd like that, go ahead and DM me on LinkedIn and I'd be happy to send it to you. Okay, over and out for now. I look forward to seeing you again next time.